you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Stetzel?
Here.
Mr. Nishimura?
Here.
Ms. Bradley?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Okay, Dustin, would you like to come up?
Absolutely. First and foremost, we have an opportunity to recognize at least one of our teachers from Montfort Heights, and to present him, I'm going to ask his principal to come forward, Ms. Caitlin Randall, to come present him. So let's welcome Caitlin.
Good evening, everyone. Caitlin Randall, principal at Montfort Heights Elementary, and we're a little behind schedule, but we had other events at school during a few of the other board meetings, so extremely proud to introduce Mr. Stu Dapper as our Teacher of the Year. He is our PE teacher. So first, congratulations to Mr. Dapper. Mr. Dapper started at Montfort Heights actually the year that I started. He was one of the first people that we interviewed to join our team. He's exceptional. He builds relationships with all of the kids. He's got relationships with all of the teachers and staff, and he loves what he does. Anyone you talk to in our building knows Mr. Dapper. They know his passion is exactly what he teaches to everybody, and there's not a day where you don't know what you're going to get when you talk with him, when you see his interactions with the students. And there's so many kids at our building who look up to him. He's absolutely a role model to our students, and we are so fortunate to have you as part of our staff. And you deserve it, so proud of you. So, Teacher of the Year, Mr. Stu Dapper.
As we transition, I ask Coach Knott to come forward. He's going to present some Corey Middle School athletic recognition, so come on up.
Thanks for having me here. I'm Mark Knott. I'm a PE teacher and coach at Colerain Middle. And this year we had, I coached track, and we went to our GMC track event at the end of the year. We actually had 22 of our athletes qualify for the finals in their events. This is our second year of actually having very, very successful season as far as track was concerned. Now, with it being summer and that being the case, it's tough to get a lot of them here, which is perfectly fine. But I did want to recognize one of my athletes who was able to make it tonight, Anesha Polnitz. You can stand up, give him a little wave. She qualified in 3 events this year, and so we were very excited about that. We did have one GMC champ. That was Talon Fisher. He was the GMC champ for the 100 for the boys. Ran it in 11:8, which is a pretty good time, especially for a 7th grader. We've never had a 7th grader win the championship before, so we look forward.
She ran 11:8.
No, that was Talon, and he was our GMC champ for the boys. Yeah, but Anesha wasn't far off that. She did really well in the 100 as well. We look forward to continued success in track and all of our other athletics, and so we just wanted to say thank you for having us here.
Great job.
I know we have 2 other high school student athletes. I'm going to say other middle school athletes. Very good. Next, I'd like to introduce our new AD at Northwest High School, Mr. Winston Licata. Let's welcome Winston.
Good evening. I'm the very extremely excited and proud athletic director of Northwest High School. And we want to acknowledge Sophia Fisher, if you want to come on up. Sophia has been a tremendous representative of Northwest High School. She exemplifies the strong character and leadership we hope to see in all of our student athletes. Sophia leaves Northwest High School as the most decorated student athlete in bowling in our history. So she has Cincinnati Enquirer Division I Bowler of the Year, the Ohio OHSBCA Female Bowler of the Year, 4-time first team All Southwest Ohio Conference, 3-time Southwest Ohio Conference Bowler of the Year, 2-time OHSA Individual State Qualifier, 4-time All Cincinnati Bowling Team, 2nd team All OHSAA Bowling Team in 2018, honorable mention All OHSAA Bowling Team in 2019, a 4-year letter varsity winner, and she was the Ohio High School Athletic Association D1 Female Bowler of the Year. She was the Ohio High School Southwest Division Senior Female Bowler of the Year, and she was also the Wendy's Heisman winner for our school in particular. She was not far off of winning the one for the state, I heard. So we'd like to recognize her for all her athletics.
Just want everyone to know this. This has never happened. I didn't have enough room on one certificate. So we had to make 2. Pretty impressive. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Are you bowling the next level?
I am. I'm bowling at Wright State next year.
Awesome. Did you get a scholarship for that?
I'm making a move to Big River.
Oh, that's awesome. Beautiful. Happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you know what my nickname is? Gutterball Joe.
We want to wish Sophia good luck. She isn't stopping here with bowling. She's going to be bowling for Wright State University. And actually, she's bowling in a national tournament in Detroit, Michigan in a few weeks. So we want to wish her the best of luck with that as well. So great job.
Next, I'd like to introduce Coach Pottsner, who's going to come forward and talk to us about Miles. So, Coach, come on up. Let's welcome Coach.
Well, Sophia is a very hard act to follow. Let me see what we can do. Okay, Miles is not only a great bowler, he's a great student and a great person. Miles finished his high school career with a 3.88 GPA and graduated cum laude. Miles has a great personality that really bloomed while he was on the bowling team, and none of us on the team will ever forget his facial expressions, especially when Mom was cheering for the team. Miles has been an important part of our bowling program for the last 4 years. He made the varsity team his freshman year and quickly became a starter for the team and one of our key players. He helped the team win many games and tournaments and helped us to finish in the top 3 of the GMC each of his 4 years and winning the GMC in his freshman year. Miles finished his senior year with a perfect game of 300 and a high series of 569, which are the highest game and series in the GMC. Miles is very deserving of the title of the Southwest District Senior Bowler of the Year, and I just found out this evening that Morehead State has called him, and he's going to go up there tomorrow and check it out and bowl for them maybe. So that's awesome.
Yeah, for a 300. Congratulations. Did you get your 300 ring?
Well, it would seem word is out as many groups have kind of came and gone. But if you haven't yet stepped outside for a picture, we'll do that next. All those who were in part of the recognition can step into the hallway for a picture.
Did we get him one? We need to bring that up.
Good luck at Morehead too, Miles.
You know, Todd, since he bowled a 300 perfect game, shouldn't we like get him a ring or something to signify a congratulations for that? I mean, that is awesome.
Especially since it take me 4 games to get to 300.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
At
maybe
least.
we should maybe try and look into that.
ABC gives you one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really? Cool.
No, you don't get one for 4 games.
That's awesome.
Okay, now we have a special presentation from our transportation department.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Gray. I'm a transportation supervisor.
I'm Bob Engel. I'm his assistant, and I've been with the district for like 21 years, 3 years on the school board, and 18 years in the transportation department as a supervisor.
Our topics for tonight are the Northwest Local School District Transportation Department, pupil transportation policies and procedures, place of safety, bus stop procedures, payment in lieu, the My Stop application, E-Link, and the various things you can find on the Northwest website, and the 1 mile policy. Our transportation department this past year ran 73, we have 73 drivers or contracted drivers. 12 are substitutes, 12 aides, 6 van drivers. We have 5 part-time drivers and 5 mechanics with 4 office personnel. We run 90 buses, 73 have assigned routes. 17 of those are spare buses, 10 are special needs bus or special education buses, and 63 are regular education buses. 6 vans are dedicated to special education. We have 52 square miles here in the district. 215 routes per day are running in 3 tiers. And we do that twice a day, AM and PM. 5,254 students are transported daily. 289 of those students are special education students. 6,522 total miles driven per day, each and every day that we are transporting our students in school. Total fuel gallons are used for the school year is 154,548 gallons of fuel. That's about 900, a little over 900 gallons of fuel per day. Our total budget for the transportation department is $5,585,554. Pupil transportation policies and procedures. This comes from the Ohio Revised Code 3301-83-08. We do not make these policies. This comes from Ohio, the state of Ohio. Pupils must go directly to an available or assigned seat so that the bus may safely resume motion. So once they board the bus, they should quickly move to a seat and be seated. Pupils must remain seated at all times, keeping aisles and exits clear. This is one of our biggest issues with young students. They want to get up, move around. They have a lot of energy. So our drivers, one driver on each bus, has to manage those pupils every day. Pupils must observe classroom conduct and obey the driver promptly and respectfully. Once a student enters or steps on that bus, he's considered at school. So that driver is now considered a teacher. And the students should be obeying and respecting that driver. Pupils must refrain from eating or drinking on the bus except as required for medical reasons. The reason for this, if a student is eating and the bus has to stop abruptly or something of that nature, that student may swallow whatever they're eating and choke or have another issue. Pupils must not reuse profane language. Pupils must not throw or pass object on, from, or into the bus. We had quite a few of these incidents on this past year. We had even students throwing items at the driver. So we use a referral system for a lot of these, and the students are being written up for those issues. Pupils must not put head or arms out of the bus windows. Pupils must leave or board the bus at locations to which they have been assigned unless they have parental administrative authorization to do otherwise. We have a lot of parents who would like their students picked up or dropped off at different locations. Unless it's authorized, then they should be boarding and getting off the bus at their assigned bus stop.
Can I
Yes,
ask a question? Let's just say the pupil is being unruly on the bus, and there's referral by the bus driver. Where does that go? Does that go to you or the principal of that school?
Okay, good question. In the past, it did come to me, and I would email it to the administrators. This coming school year, all bus drivers will be putting that information in the public school work system, and it will go straight to the administrator. And the administrator will notify the driver and myself of the action that has been taken.
Okay, good.
Any other questions? The place of safety.
Okay, so I'm gonna cover the place of safety, and one of the main reasons that we're gonna cover this tonight is the student safety. It's very confusing to parents why this is in place. This is in place so that we can account for every student, where they're at and what they're doing. If we don't have a place of safety, we don't know where the child is or where he's coming from or what he's going to go to. We spend an immense amount of our office resources every year trying to explain this one law to to the parents, okay? And basically 3301-83-13-6B speaks to the place of safety, and it refers to the place of safety on the drop-off procedure, but it gives you every detail of it. In 8308, which Thomas just read, it says that the students will be in their place of safety when the bus arrives. So 3313 says each student will be assigned a designated place of safety on the resident side of the street on which the vehicle is scheduled to stop. The driver must account for each student, so they're counting each student that's getting off of the bus and telling them to go to their place of safety. And when they get to their place of safety, that driver's going to recount them to make sure that they have all the students that got off the bus where they're supposed to be. That's what the law is all about. If we don't have the students gathered and put in one place, then we don't know where they are. If they drop their apple out of their lunchbox or a piece of paper and they go underneath that bus to get it, if we can't account for who got off and where they're at, if they just run and scatter when they get off the bus, we do not know that that child's underneath the bus. Because on a school bus, you can see every square inch of that school bus from the back end, on the sides, to the front and around the front. There are mirrors that show you every bit of that bus, every bumper, every wheel, everything. You can see it. But if they're underneath there, there's no vision, so we don't know where they're at. Okay. Pupils are not to proceed to their residence until the school bus has departed. And this is another one. Well, what if it's raining? What if it's snowing? What if it... No, we still have to get them to their place of safety, account for them, and then drive away. As we pull up, this is the other point of emphasis. The students need to be standing there when the bus arrives. Okay? Now, if you're lucky enough to live where the bus stop is close to your house, or if you drive your student to the bus stop, that's great. But the student can't be still sitting in the car when the bus pull up and they're the last ones to get on the bus, because that screws up the bus driver's count. If we got kids scattering out of cars, that's no different than them coming out of their houses or anywhere else. When you see the bus coming, you got to get the students out of the car and at the stop before the bus pulls up there. I'm going to go over bus stops in a minute, and when I do that, you'll see where this plays in. The other thing about the students not be standing there waiting, if the bus has to wait for the students to get there, there are other other students that are abiding by what they're being asked to do, and they're further down the route. That leaves them standing out in the cold or in the rain that much longer. So that's why we ask the students to be where they're supposed to be when we pull up. Obviously, you know, throughout the years, you know, there's been plenty of things where students weren't at their place of safety when the bus pulled up, and they start chasing buses. I think the last fatality we had was in Toledo, where a middle school student came out of the house late, and the bus was pulling away. He had another stop a half a block down. The mom says, "You can catch that bus." Student takes off after the bus, gets going down the street. He gets tired, his backpack gets low, steps on the strap of his bus backpack right when he gets to the rear wheel of the bus, and guess where he went? Yeah, not good. He did not survive. It was a fatality. Actually, when I was here my last term, we've had several students. The last one I can remember was on Sanderlin Court in Twinview. He had a stop there. Bus is pulling up. It's got its amber lights on. Student's still in the bus, or still in the parent's van, gets out of the van, cuts directly in front of the van and directly in front of a plumbing truck who took him straight down. Luckily, he survived. He was not a fatality. He was basically just severely broke his arm, like in 2 places. So it does happen here. That's what the place of safety is all about. So we want to account for all of our students when we pull up and all the students when we pull away. Okay. So I had a lot more planned for this, but I've been told to keep it short, unless I have permission. No? Okay.
No.
All right. So, okay. So the pickup procedure, okay, I had a little analogy with umpiring, because everybody thinks umpiring is real easy, because all you do is call balls and strikes and safes and outs, and, you know, that seems pretty easy. You get, you know, 54 outs in a game. If you got playing a 9-inning game, home team wins, you only have to call 51. So, but what happens if there's a balk? What happens if somebody bats out of order? What if the catcher obstructs the batter? See, so a lot of things keep going on, and it goes on and on. Ball goes out of play, home runs go off of somebody's glove. What's that? You know. So, as you see, it's not as easy as you think it is. You know, you think they're just calling balls and strikes and safes and outs. Well, bus drivers, they're just picking up kids, taking them to school, dropping them off, picking them back up to school, taking them home, dropping them off. There's so much that goes on at a bus stop that you can't even believe that this driver's got all this going on at the same time. Now, we have one of our board members rode a bus last fall.
Yeah, that was an experience, let me tell you.
A lot more going on than you thought, wasn't there?
Absolutely.
All right. So, here's the pickup procedure. Okay. So as you're pulling up to the stop, you're scanning traffic through your mirrors. You're seeing who's behind you, how deep the traffic is behind you, who's coming at you, are there any cross streets or anybody pulling out of their driveway. So you're watching all this. 300 feet, or as soon as possible, because sometimes you turn the corner and there's a stop right there, so you won't have 300 feet. You're going to activate your amber lights, the yellow flashing lights on top of the bus. As you approach the students, you're going to count for how many students are standing there. And as you learn your route, you know pretty much how many kids are standing there and their names and so on and so forth. But you're counting the students as you pull up to how many students are there. Okay? You're going to stop the bus on the right side of the road, as close to the curb as you can. And you say, why do you do that? Because we're trying to prevent people from coming around the right side of the bus with their car. Believe believe it or not. Okay? You're gonna set your emergency brake. On all of our buses, just about, except for some of the really old ones, we have what's called an interlock braking system. So when that driver activates the door, that interlock brake kicks in and automatically puts the emergency brakes on. So it's a no-fail system. You're going to shift the bus into neutral. You're going to open the door. The red lights are going to come on. The stop sign's going to come out. Okay, so now that you've got the bus stopped and everything there, you're going to signal the students that cross the street. And then you're going to signal the students that are on the right side of the street. And to do this, you're going to put your palm up. There's no waving. This palm goes up, okay, straight up. When traffic is clear, they're checking their mirrors. That driver drops their hand. The opposite hand, in the meantime, is covering the horn in case anything happens. They see anything in their mirrors as these students are crossing. They can warn them. Students are instructed to walk 10 steps in front of the bus or more. We actually have crossing arms on almost all of our buses now. The other reason that they're out further than 10 feet is should the bus be struck from behind, that gives them another 10 feet or 10 steps of cushion, because you are not going to move that bus very far anyhow, regardless of what you're driving. As the students are boarding the bus driver's greeting the students, or should be greeting the students, and they're recounting the students as they come up the steps to make sure that the students that they counted over there are now coming up the steps. Okay. For right-hand stops, when those students are now being instructed that their place of safety is 20 steps off the roadway. And when I have a video, when I show that video to you, you'll see why. Drivers are going to recheck their mirrors before they drop their hand. The right side students are getting the same hand signal that the left side students got. And when they drop their hand, they're coming. When all the students are seated, we shift it back into gear. We check the 9-mirror grid. So there's 7 mirrors. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the center one, and then these 2 again. And then you're always rechecking the 2 crossover mirrors. Okay, then you're closing the door, releasing the brake, okay, and then you check your right and left mirrors and proceed when clear. So that's the pickup procedure. In the afternoon, when we drop off, it's pretty much the same procedure, but we have added precautions. And the students are given specific instructions on how to cross the street. The first 2 weeks to 3 weeks to a month to a year, the instruction is to the driver. You give the instructions until you feel that the students understand what you're asking them to do. And once again, when you see the videos, it'll all click in, okay? You're supposed to walk 10 steps or more along the roadway to the front of the bus and wait for my hand signal. When I drop my hand signal, I want you to walk to the center of the road, stop there, check traffic on your own before crossing. If it is safe to cross, go directly to your place of safety, which is whatever the bus driver assigned. The bus driver's assigned the place of safety. They are the main person. If they need assistance, or if a parent thinks that the place of safety is not what they'd like it to be or what it should be, they can appeal that to our office. We'll come out and we'll look at it. I actually had a driver once ask girl to stand in the grass, which is, you know, on a rainy day is not the best place to be. So we assisted with that and got that straightened out. And then you instruct them, I want you to remain there until the bus leaves. If I blow my horn, that means danger. Recheck traffic. It's on the student to recheck the traffic. They need to look to see why the driver's blowing the horn, not look back at the driver, because looking to see where the trouble is may save their life by them being able to jump out of the way. If you see nothing, look back at me for further instructions. Okay, once again, the drivers are gathering the students as they come up the steps or up the aisle before they get off the bus, and as they get off the bus, once again, they're counting them. And when they get to their place of safety, they're counting them again. And then, I guess probably the first time I drove a bus was in the afternoon when I passed the test. And I went out with our driver trainer, and a kid got off the bus and he just took off. And it freaked me out because I didn't know where he was. And luckily the driver trainer said, well, you don't have to get off the bus. I watched him, he went to his house. So, but if you're out there as a driver on your own, you don't know that. You don't know where that child is at. It's definitely a problem. And you can't move your bus. So you would have to shut your bus off, get off the bus, and check to see where the child was. Okay. So that's the drop-off procedure. So now I'm gonna show you a video, and I'm gonna warn you right now. What's that? Oh, okay. All right. So once a year we do a survey. 17 million times, according to the statewide survey in the United States, on the day that school is in session, 17 million times a year, somebody runs a red light on a school bus. This year, on the day that we counted in our district, we had 23 illegal passings. One of those was on the right side, the pickup side of the bus. So we're going to show you a video, and once again, this first couple slides on this are going to be kind of graphic. I apologize for that, but it is what it is. I will tell you one thing, nobody was seriously injured, a couple broken bones, but that's it. Okay, so once we get through these first couple slides, then it's more breathtaking, but nobody gets hit.
It wasn't a great start to the school year for these two students. Police in Austin, Texas say both were hit by cars within a span of 24 hours when the drivers ignored the flashing stop signs on school buses.
This child just got hit. I got an emergency at 10 and Birmingham. Send an ambulance, please.
So the State Highway Patrol behind the bus.
Yeah, there we go. See ya.
In this video, a child almost struck by a dangerous motorist.
Thank you.
And here, a fed-up bus driver lays down the law.
No.
On September 29th, 10-year-old Rebecca Hilliard got off her school bus. Security camera video from a nearby home shows a number of children crossing the road. The bus driver then deactivates the stop sign, but but it appears he still encourages Rebecca to cross. That's when she almost gets hit by a car. He actually clips her backpack.
She was screaming and crying. I couldn't get her to talk. And
When their neighbor showed them the video, her mother, Melissa, couldn't believe it. Watch the video.
which made my heart drop. I
This
was
came off
sick
the
over it.
doorbell. I
Just sick over
apologize
it.
for the video.
You gotta be kidding me.
And that's in slow motion.
Video from inside the bus shows the driver pulling up to the bus stop to pick up the kids. The doors open, and 3 kids approach the bus when a white SUV blazes by on the right side. For one mom, the gut reaction was instantaneous.
Those are our kids!
Speed zone, and the SUV didn't seem to slow down. From the angle of another camera, you can see the car driving on the shoulder as it passes on the right side of the bus. Here it is again from the other direction. It means the car had to drive in the ditch to get by the bus. Like the lives of 3 children flashing before their parents' eyes.
So, you heard a lot of blah, 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 blah about the place of safety and how students cross bus stops. But in the state of Ohio, those are the laws. And guess who's emulating the laws from the state of Ohio? Just about every other state in the United States is looking at us and how we set this program up. We've been the leaders in transportation for the last 20 years. We've been the innovators. We've been the people that are setting us up. You now see why all these little things are in place. We actually are now instructing our students as they get off of the bus in the afternoons to check traffic at the bottom step to get off. That's part of the new verbiage that we're teaching our students because of what you just watched. Now, if you go back at this first slide, this won't happen in the state of Ohio unless the school bus company is breaking the law, because you can see this is a 4-lane road. They must have a resident side stop if it's a 4-lane road. Even though this is horrible because the student is in the crosswalk. Regardless of what the traffic device says, this student's in the crosswalk. Okay, get the next one. And you would have thought that all these motorists were at fault, but once again, you have a 4-lane road here. And then here's the child behind the bus, and here this guy's coming around the corner. There's no way for him to see that student right there. This one here was the student that was crossing right here. The problem with this is there were 3 other students, if you remember, that crossed after him. So the bus driver did not gather the students because they should have all crossed together. These students were not 20 feet off of the road. They weren't checking traffic before they came across. I don't know what the bus driver was doing. You know, I don't know how much road was on the other side of this, where he came from, but he had pretty good speed too. So there was a lot of things involved in that. This one here, this is bus driver error all the way. First of all, he knows there's 5 students there that are going to cross. 3 students are already across. The other 2 students are still standing there. He deactivated. If he's going to cross them, he has to reactivate his lights. So the the driver's still at fault because in the state of Ohio, whether the signs are out or the lights are flashing, if the bus is stopped for the purpose of discharging students, you still have to stop. Whether the lights fail for mechanical reasons, there's no leeway there. If the bus is stopped, you have to stop. This one is just infallible that 3 people in a row do not stop for the buses. And the other thing in here is, should that be a bus stop? You don't know it's around that curve. Are they coming up a hill? They can't see that. So that would have to be reevaluated as a bus stop to begin with. This one here, once again, I apologize to come off a Ring doorbell, but this is a total mess here. The students are not gathered. They're not in a place of safety. They're going wherever they want to go. That driver doesn't know where his students are. They just scattered all over when they came out of that bus. And this is spot on what's supposed to be happening. That girl's 20 steps off the road, saved her life when that truck came by. And this, sometimes you need divine intervention. How those 3 girls are still alive is just a nick of time. That's all it was. So, okay. So we want to cover this very quickly. It's in lieu of payment. In lieu of payment is basically if your child is attending a chartered non-public school or a community school, and you live in our district, the first thing that has to happen for payment in lieu of transportation is upon enrollment in a chartered non-public school or a community school, the parent or legal guardian must contact the transportation department in their district. Typically, what they'd like to see is put in writing, and that usually doesn't happen until after they have a discussion with the transportation department. Because typically they'll call and they'll ask for transportation, and then we will tell them, whether or not we can transport their child. So if the school is outside of our boundaries, basically it has to be within 30 minutes of their home school that they would attend inside of our district. If it's outside of 30 minutes, then they were not eligible for payment in lieu of transportation. If the school is inside our district, say, just for example, St. John's, and a student lives all the way down by St. Ives, chances are we're not going to be able to transport them. So we would make them eligible for payment in lieu of. Then the parent would have the choice of whether they wanted to accept that, or they could challenge that and say, well, I don't care, I want busing anyhow. Then it's on the school district to figure out how they're going to do that, or if it's totally impractical. One thing you have to remember as a parent, we can get pretty creative, and we're not restricted to what we have to do or how we do it, other than it has to be in a yellow school bus. So if you demand that you want transportation from the district, and we offer it to you, you're no longer eligible for payment in lieu of. You will waive your right once we offer it. And offering it may be your kindergarten from St. James drives to, if you live out in Colerain area, may come in on a Colerain Middle School bus and get transferred to a St. James bus that comes out of Colerain Middle School, and your kindergartner could end up on the bus for an hour and 15 minutes one way. So there's a 30-page document that all this stuff comes out of, but I think the main thing that we want to say tonight is that if you want payment in lieu of, there's a few things that we need as a district up front, and that is, one, is you need to notify us so we know that you're out there. Otherwise, I mean, we're not a census bureau. We don't know that you moved into our district and enrolled in a non-public school. So you have to communicate that to us. And then the other piece that we need is we need to know that before October 1st. If we don't know that before October 1st, then basically we aren't going to be able to claim you for payment in lieu of coming from the state. So what happens is we file a T1 report in October, and then we file a T2 report in August, and the numbers from October need to match the numbers in August. The two numbers need to be the same. And the reason they do that is they say that if somebody moves in during that period of time, chances are somebody moved out. So they're averaging. That's their reasoning. Okay. Just to keep the presentation shorter, if anyone has any questions about payment in lieu of, they can call our office and we'll be able to explain it a little bit more in detail and more specifically to their needs and their questions.
All right, we have a new application or app that you can download. All parents who have students in the district can download this application. VersaTrans MyStop, it provides mobile access to bus information. The app displays the location of the user's assigned school bus as well as the estimated time of arrival to the stop. Students can plan for late or on-time arrival and prevent missed pickups or being left outside in inclement weather. This is going to help us be a little bit more efficient. It's going to help parents know where the bus is and what time it's going to arrive at the stop. You can know where the bus is at all times, receive the bus's estimated time of arrival at the stop, and students still need to be out at the bus stop 5 minutes prior. That's important. Like we went over, students can't be running out as the bus is arriving because we want to make sure that the child doesn't get hurt or we miss that child. Some of the things that you can find on the website, bus stop information is through eLink. There's a link there that you can click on, put your child's information in, it'll give you the bus stop information. MyStop app downloader instructions are on there. Our staff listing for transportation and contact information is all on there. And starting this school year, we'll have a better communication system in our office. Calls will come in. You'll be placed in a queue for a specific amount of time until somebody else is available to answer your call if we're all on the phone. So that'll help us communicate with you a lot better. And 1 mile policy.
Okay. So the 1 mile policy is basically what has been in place in the district for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. And we basically have tried to bus as many students as we could in the past couple years. But with the continuing cuts that we get from the state, and we get cut by our own, I guess, our own townships in some cases, that our funding keeps getting cut. The district doesn't really have a spending problem. We have a funding problem because year after year we're being cut. What is it, 11 million now? Is it?
So it's really important that this levy does pass, because if it doesn't, you're going to go to a 2 mile radius, correct?
Well, I'm not sure where that's going to happen yet, but eventually, yeah, if we don't if we continue to deficit spend until the point where there is none, then what'll happen is the state will come in and they'll run the district. When the state comes in and runs the district, basically what they'll do is they'll cut everything back to bare bones. That's basically athletics, busing to 2 miles, whatever the state limits are, that's what they do. Students under 1 mile in the state of Ohio are not funded by the state of Ohio. Only the students that live more than 1 mile. And that's typically why you see in most school districts that there is a 1 mile limit. In neighboring districts like Oak Hills, they are on a 2 mile. And the scary part about going to a 2 mile is pretty much the rule of thumb is once a district does something, once they go one way, they never come back from there. And I think that's what happened with Oak Hills years and years and years ago, is they went to 2 miles and they've never returned from that. The problem is once you deplete your fleet, or if you react to the 2 mile as if it's permanent, you can't come back to it. It's the same with trying to outsource your busing. Once the contractors have control of your buses, you're nearing $100,000 a piece for buses. It's hard to go out and buy 100 of those. So the 1 mile is a tough pill to swallow after we've been doing some of the extra busing over the last year, but we know that it's costing us between $250,000 and $300,000 a year to do that, and we have to recoup money wherever we can. I know this is not a popular decision, but if you live inside the 1 mile, okay, which is basically what it was, up to about 3 years ago, was a strict 1 mile. I mean, it was that way for probably 15 years that I was here. Parents are responsible. We're not saying that that's a walk zone. That's a non-transported area. We're not saying that the students are supposed to walk there. We're just saying that we don't have the resources to put them on a yellow bus. That is basically the statement that we're saying. Because a lot of times people confuse saying, well, you want my student to walk to school. Well, we're not saying that. We're just saying that we don't have the resources to pick up students and take them inside 1 mile. And then the other thing that you'll get, well, I live in the house next door. Well, if you live in the house next door, or even the house next to that, you can probably call us and we will come out and we can measure it exactly. We're going off of our Versatrans system, which is fairly accurate, but we can do an exact measurement. We have a device on our service trucks that's accurate within 1 foot on 1,000 feet. So we can actually measure it if we need to find out what the distance would be.
Bob, do you measure from, say, my house to the school, or to the driveway into the school, or where do you measure to?
The measurement that the state gives you is it has to be the inbound route via roadway along the path that the bus would drive to the road, the shortest path, and then you measure to the spot where the students board and unboard the bus.
So if my kid gets on at a spot, say it was coming to this building here, you would measure it out at Banning Road where the driveway comes up? Is that
right?
Okay.
From where your driveway meets the road. Typically what we've done though is we use the property line. If that 1 mile is anywhere in your property line, then we'll give you busing.
Gotcha.
We're not gonna try to split hairs that close.
Gotcha.
But we have to have, if there's no line in the sand, and you get to the other side of that, what you want to take the house next door? Well, what about the one 3 doors down? And then it's, then you took that one, and then it's the next one down from that.
Gotcha.
And then you do it on one side of the district, whatever you do over here, you have to do over here.
Right.
Because the law pretty much in the state of Ohio says you have to provide like services.
Sure.
So,
So you're stating that students are not allowed to walk to the 1 mile point. If they're like 0.8, they can't walk the
They
0.2.
would not be eligible.
They would not be eligible to board
Right.
the bus.
questions, anybody?
I think the significance and why we wanted this discussion tonight is this is very important. We are in a spending deficit. It is due to funding. We need to continue to look at every reduction we can. When he says reducing 250 to 300,000, that's in employees, because we would no longer need their services to provide transportation. If you look at the videos Bob just showed, last year we ran into this a lot with bus pass issues and transportation issues and parents complaining about bus stops, and then what was going on social media with kids getting hit. That little month or 2 months of interaction there happens all the time, unfortunately. We have worked very hard with Colerain Township Police Department. They are supportive. They ask our drivers to let them know anything they can. They tell them to try to find license plates, and they will back us 110%. That's never been an issue. The thing you run into is when you go to 1 mile, and as we start to make recommendations for reductions in July and August, it is a savings of $250,000 to $300,000. And when we're looking at needing about 8 or 9 million in reductions, if we don't pass a levy, this is pretty much a sure thing that we'll do. But I think what upsets our parents the most, or what upsets folks, is kids just crossing and not looking both ways. And we don't have any control until they get to our property. We can control reminding messages sent out through emails, sent out through papers going home. But enforcing 1 mile is what everybody else does, and a lot does 2 miles. And with not passing this levy, Joe brings up a great point. We have to truly evaluate 2 miles, because that saves $1 million. And if this levy doesn't pass, it has to come back for a higher amount. And that's what we've talked to everybody about, because the state's not coming up with new funding. As Amy said several times and been very clear with her presentations, we are flatlined for 2 years, and it's not changed. So this is a very big deal. The other thing that Chris and I have worked with, and Amy, is meeting with Jeff Miltz and getting somebody in with the sidewalks to see what we can do to assist there. Again, reminding folks that we control sidewalks on our property, but Hamilton County works with the township, so they have a sidewalk committee that we can work with, continue to make our recommendations, be at the forefront of those. Jeff is open to that ideal, and we continue to try to do our best to put sidewalks in safe places where they need to be. But this is a very important discussion. I think what Bob and them presented about the bus stop is just letting you all know, when you get phone calls and complaints because the bus stop's not where a parent wants, it's sometimes safety reasons. It's not just Bob and Thomas going, hey, here it is, there it is, we just flipped a coin and it ended up there. It's Bob and Thomas making good, sound decisions. I have seen both of them in cars, out driving, looking at places, but the 1 mile policy is what our board policy is. And the state policy is 2 miles, so we are doing more than what the state policy requires. So this is great information, and if you guys have any questions, just wanted to let you know why we thought it was important to put them in front of you.
I actually have a question. When, going back to the very beginning, so when the kids know the safe zone and, 20 feet or 10 feet back, when do they learn all this? Do the bus drivers, is this
The
something?
bus drivers instructed. The law says in K to 3, and there's Karen's back there and Colin's back there. During the first week of 2 weeks, 3 weeks of school, they have a video. I guess is that what you guys do? A video that have these instructions. So all K through 3, so their first 4 years of education, they're seeing this at the start of every school year.
This was so powerful to see. I know you and I've talked
Right.
about just seeing them pass on the inside is just mind-blowing, but have we ever showed this so the parents see it, whether it's at,
Well,
first meet the teacher or whatever?
Me and my son put that video together. We pieced that together from YouTube. And if you want to see the videos in full, you can email me and I'll email you the links if you want to see the whole links of the whole video.
I just
That was
think that would
Those
be-
were just, we dumbed those clips down.
Right, but
And,
it's certainly, I would think if, you know, parents see that at a PTA meeting or at a whatever,
That's-
so they are reinforcing it home to
Right.
the, and then they understand too why, okay, you might have to stand out here and get a little wet, but this is
Right.
why it's your safety.
Right, and so that's what I created the tool for, is this is the first presentation tonight. But the next place this needs to go is it needs to go in front of the principals. So that the principals, not all the principals understand what the place of safety is either, and why bus drivers write up and
Sure.
cut 15 minutes out of their day that they have to sit there with a student, right? I mean, it's tough. I mean, you only have so many minutes in the day, and bus write-ups are you would hope would be an unnecessary part of the day, but it is.
Well,
And-
you see, I mean, the responsibility a bus driver has.
Right, and so, yeah, I wanted to take this out and show the principals, and then I want to go to the PTAs. So anybody from any school will be more than welcome to come to your PTA meetings and redo this presentation on the place of safety in the bus stops, because it's that important. It's,
How
once
many
we.
drivers were cited last year for violations of the passing?
I don't know. In our state, we have the Ohio Revised Code says that the officer must be present to cite a motorist. So in 27 other states, though, buses are being equipped with stop arm cameras. So when that bus, the stop arm comes out, actually, as soon as the yellow lights are activated, the stop arm camera activates. And as that stop arm's out, that camera's recording video. So anybody that comes through there, it reads the license plates, it sees the person in the seat. And
Does anybody have that in Ohio?
No,
No
because
district- no districts
it's,
are doing that?
it's no good. What the other states are doing is the townships and the cities are marrying up with the schools, and the townships and the cities are buying the cameras for the school districts to make the children safe. And on the back end of it, they're collecting the citations.
Gotcha.
You would think
So-
that'd be a no-brainer to do, I mean, these little villages and stuff are writing tickets with the cameras if, you know, somebody goes through a light or whatever.
Well, I've been in the States here for a while, and Chris and Thomas and I were at a financial reporting meeting 10 days ago with the state, but they're still the same people that are sitting in the office when you call about anything else too, so they're the same people.
Right.
And once again, I brought it up to them because they're in the process right now of this, running a stop arm is going to be a more severe penalty. But, you know, I'm like, it doesn't do any good if you can't catch them, so.
Right.
And what we need is, we need the stop arm cameras. You need to get to the state Congress or House of Representatives or whatever it takes to get these stop arm cameras on school bus admissible in court. I mean, that's what's gonna keep the kids safe.
And lastly, I think just the most important thing of the whole presentation is the safety issue. But again, that 1 mile enforcement, the complaints when we go to a 1 mile enforcement, as district policy states, will come to you as a group and myself and the group up here. And we have to be consistent with our message. We are in a spending deficit. We have severe funding issues, reduction after reduction. It goes from 6 million, it goes to 8.7 million. It's what we have to do. And 300,000, okay, so now we're at 8.2 instead of 8.5 million. So it is part of what we have to do. There is nothing pleasant about the recommendation because all the recommendations we will start making in July and August will be employees' jobs, and it will continue to go. So I think they wanted to get out in front of that because they do have to fight those battles when they say, I'm sorry, your son or daughter does not qualify for transportation, and you have to work systems and do things like you did. Another thing that they didn't bring up, and I don't want to extend anything, but a lot of folks have asked, can we bring back high school transportation? We looked into that. Bob and Thomas estimated out you'd have to buy 56 buses and spend a whole lot of money that we do not have in order to buy 56 buses. Do you remember what the total was to?
It was near 6 million just for equipment, and then you're gonna have more staffing.
So it is absolutely not a possibility.
Yeah.
But
No.
Chris and Bob and Thomas have been great. They are looking at other avenues to help supply transportation because we did go through some issues with some resourced high school busing, so they continue to look at that to see how they can help the parents and see what they can do. So I appreciate that, what you guys have done.
Yeah, I think the other thing that if you were looking at bringing it back, that you would have to bring it back in increments. And maybe that would be bringing the freshmen in with the middle school kids somehow. That would be the way that you would have to
But still
kinda
at
attack
additional
that.
cost.
But it's still.
And I think you said it pretty
Right.
clear when you said once Oak Hills went 2 miles, they never came back from it, and other school districts, they never come back from it.
No.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Thanks, board. Thanks for administration.
Do you have a Butler Tech update?
No, nothing this week.
Okay, do we have any reports from certificated or licensed employees? Reports from classified? Or school-related organizations? Community comments? We'll go right into personnel.
Yes, the first item is certificated licensed personnel items. It is certified retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions?
Were there exit interviews conducted for all the individuals that were listed here?
We are adjusting our process for exit interviews, and so all of them will be contacted in July for exit interviews.
I think some are the resignations, some of them prior to July,
Yes,
so we're contacting them after.
we have a process in place currently for how we do exit interviews, and we are currently in the process of revising that because of changes.
Oh, what happened?
Dr. Turney was the person who was responsible for conducting exit interviews, and so we are in the process of putting a different process in place after she is no longer with us.
Any other questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel item. It is classified retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second?
Moved in second. Any questions on classified personnel? Motion passed 5-0.
Good
Heck.
evening. Sorry. First, I'd like to ask the board to dispense with reading of the May 15th special meeting minutes that were listed.
So moved?
Second.
Been moved in second. Any additions or corrections for the special meeting minutes for May 15th? Motion passed 4-1.
Next, I'd like to ask the board to dispense with reading of and approve the May 23rd meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved in second. Any questions or additions for the special meeting on May 23rd? Motion passed 5-0.
Next, I'd like to ask the board to dispense with reading of and approve the June 10th special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions for the special meeting on June 10th? Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, on the May 2019 financial report, our all funds balance was 51.8 million. Our general fund unreserved balance was 28.7 million. Our revenues for the year-to-date were 85 million, or at 97% of our forecast, and our expenditures were at 86.8 million, or 92% of our forecast, which is on target for 11 months of the year. Our investment average return was 2.39%, and interest rates are starting to decline down, so we've got them laddered out, and we're trying to maximize our rate of return as much as we can. The list of the monthly bills were our routine monthly bills, as well as we had our debt interest payments for all of our debt issuances, the master facility project payments. We had some non-public schools purchasing iPads. We had AP tests paid for, Title I services per our MOUs that have been approved by the board, instructional supplies, custodial supplies for summer cleaning, prom, and our Wake Cross payment was all paid during the month of May. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the May financial reports that were in.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions for the financial report for the month of May? Motion passed 5-0.
Next is the final fiscal year 19 permanent appropriations resolution. This is for the close of the fiscal year. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the final permanent appropriations at approximately $122 million.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions?
Next is
Passed
approval.
motion passed 5-0.
Next is approval of a new student activity fund. This is the Partners Club at Colerain High School. Their mission, the mission of the Partners Club is to encourage socialization between peers with and without disabilities. This club is open to all students at Colerain High School. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve this new student activity fund.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions regarding the new student activity at Colerain High School?
Is there an activity like this for Northwest High School as well?
No, right now Colerain High School is the only one that's proposed.
Motion passed 5-0.
Next is the student activity handbook that was presented on May 23rd for information. Treasurer recommends the Board of Education approve the student activity handbook for fiscal year 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions on the student handbook?
Amy, how's the compliance with the organizations, like turning in their meeting minutes, their financial statements, things like that? Is that better than it was?
With the student activities or PTA and boosters?
That does not fall in this?
No, that was our PTAs and boosters and
Okay.
half by half.
What are some of the highlights of the changes that are different from the 18-19 versus the 19-20 year?
Most of it is we're going to electronic forms, so to make the process faster for our advisors and so they can track it through the process also.
That's what's noted in the handbook, that's the change in the handbook.
Yeah. They were highlighted in the May 23rd meeting.
Were there any other significant changes that you worked on?
No, because most of it's written by Ohio Revised Code, all the processes they have to follow.
Anybody else? Motion passed 5-0.
Next, I'd like to ask the board to approve advances for the fiscal year end. This is so that any fund that has a negative balance, such as a grant fund, because we're waiting on a drawdown, we have to advance money from the general fund into those funds to cover the negative, and then when the money's repaid, we'll advance it back in the next fiscal year. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the year-end advances from the general fund.
So
As
moved.
listed.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any questions regarding the advances for general fund? Motion passed 5-0.
Next, I'd like to ask the board to accept, approve, and appropriate new funds for fiscal year 20. Most of these are our grant funds, because we had grants since our temporary appropriations were set. We've now got our federal grants and state grants for the next fiscal year, as well as our auxiliary funds. They're on a biennium, a 2-year cycle, and so we need to set up the funds to start that process. So I recommend that the Board of Education accept and approve and appropriate the fiscal year 20 new funds as listed.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second. Questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Next, there's a resolution to determine to proceed with an additional tax levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of avoiding an operating deficit for the school district as certified by the Hamilton County Auditor. Treasurer recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution determining to proceed with the additional tax levy.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, and finally, I'd like to ask the board to approve the resolution for district parameters and community partnerships. This is regarding the upcoming levy that you just approved, as well as capping our annual appropriations at that 3% limitation as we've been talking about. So it's a resolution in partnership with our community on capping our expenditures and support of the levy also for funding.
Did you already make the motion?
So Treasurer recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution of district financial parameters and community partnership as listed.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item is a general business item. It is the Master Facility Project GMP adjustments. In order to adjust and close out each GMP previously approved by the Board of Education, it is necessary to properly document the addition or deletion of work scope which will increase or decrease actual cost of each GMP. Any remaining funds are then made available for future use, which may include alternates, work scope increases, or existing GMPs for futures. GMPs as approved by the Board. OCO number 12 is to cancel the remaining work on Banning Road. After many attempts to get this work moving forward, the construction team was unable to complete this work. It is also the opinion of the district and Colerain Township that the project should be the responsibility of Hamilton County, as it is more than 0.5 miles away from the district. OCO 13 is for the design work for the additional PRE parking lot, which is to be completed this summer. Another change order will follow for the additional work, add $54,892.76. OCO 14 is for adding an additional sidewalk at Taylor Elementary and an additional sidewalk and fencing at Pleasant Run Elementary as requested by the buildings to help student movement and safety. So the summary of the banning, as you recall back, there was an agreement that it would top out at $700,000, $350,000 by the township, $350,000 by the school district. We have determined that it is the responsibility of Hamilton County are moving forward and using the money to help pay for improvements at Taylor and PRE. So this is also for the parking lot at Peary, and then also additional sidewalks on our property that make it safer for the students to get back to Springdale Road from Taylor Elementary. And then the fencing along the side to help with the playground and sidewalks at Peary.
Do you have any
Sup-
sketches or diagrams of those two areas?
We do. Chris? This is Chris Soto, in case you guys don't remember.
Alright, so we are adding a sidewalk in blue that wraps around the retaining wall. If you go out there now, you see there's a lot of foot traffic there.
And which school is this, so they all know?
I'm sorry, this is Pleasant Run Elementary. So we're just gonna continue the sidewalk around to connect to the backside of this play area, Pleasant Run.
Is that where the kindergarten play area?
Yes, that's the kindergarten play area.
Was that an issue before? Having the sidewalk or not having the sidewalk there?
You had no way but to travel on the entryway to get back there at times.
Yep, so there is a well-worn path that continues down here and around this retaining wall.
Okay.
So it's pretty muddy.
And the cost for that portion is how much?
For the sidewalk, is around $7,000.
And then you have the parking lot picture on, is that on there also?
The next one, we go to the fence sketch.
Oh, okay,
This is
fence
the
first, yep.
sketch. Yep. So we're installing a fence along the length of this drive. That fence will match the decorative fence that runs along the top of the retaining walls. So it'll help separate students from any traffic along that driveway to access the yard.
So it's a safety precaution to keep the students safe from anybody driving down that lane and so on and so forth.
like chasing the ball or something. Yes, exactly.
A lot of problems with the balls going over and across that road and down the hill.
And then while we have this slide up, the concept for the Pleasant Run Elementary parking lot expansion, we're building or designing a parking lot in this area here, across this ditch. It's currently planned for between 70 and 78 spaces, depending on zoning requirements. Zoning also requires landscaping and site lighting. So that design is in, we've got some surveying underway at the moment to help plan for that expansion. That parking lot will connect to the bus stop right about here and this intersection right here.
Is this also an alternative entrance for the teachers, you said when they're coming in?
Yes, we started that at the end of last year and it worked out very well.
So the teachers are coming in the bus route?
Yes.
And it's essentially we park in that
Correct.
lot.
And the last slide, the C-140, this is at Taylor Elementary. So we will be adding a sidewalk from this lower parking lot So it's this dashed line that goes up to the front entrance of Taylor Elementary. So if anyone's parked in this lower lot, they've experienced there's no easy way to get up to the main entrance to that building. I've parked there, had to tromp through the grass. It's not fun. It's uphill. So we'll be adding that sidewalk. This also extends the drop-off sidewalk for parents for the morning and also for pickup at any evening.
Can you draw like the current drop-off lane?
Yep. Currently stops right here, and it continues up towards the gym at the top of the screen.
So they would be able to drop off all of the dotted portion?
Correct, yes.
So, and Chris, just so, Diane, that's good, they come in at the top left of the picture and then circle around there.
Yep, so currently, it extends from here to here, extended all the way to here, and then you'd have a connection down to this lot for staff, parents, or any special activities in the building. Any other questions?
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
I went to PRE and Struble one morning and watched the whole flow pattern. They have a gate person there at PRE on the teacher side, so I did talk her into letting me in there because I didn't know I went the wrong way. And I spoke to some of the teachers as they were walking in about how they thought they said it was ugly in the beginning. It's smoothed out a lot. What I observe more than anything is how fast the parents drive at both locations. Struble is getting back in the neighborhood, they drive recklessly to the neighborhood, whether they're student parents, I don't know. But the traffic back there is, but what I observed was that they drop the kids off, like especially at PRE, because they've got like almost a double wide lane, and somebody will be dropping a kid off and somebody will start to pull out and move, and somebody will be in that left lane. But all in all, I thought it was pretty smooth, but it seems to be getting better. So I think policing the parent traffic is, and I talked to people about maybe signage or something like that, or even have our resource officers out there. I mean, if they have to see things happen, then let them out there to see things happen and stop them and address it. So I think that would, but it was interesting to sit and watch it.
Yeah, I've done pickups and drop-offs at both locations, and what I find, honestly, I prefer the PRE. What I find at Taylor's, they stop at the door, which is like 2 or 3 car lengths prior to where they actually pit stop. So as far as like the group of load and unload, you're shorting it almost every cycle by 2 or 3 cars, so it makes it even longer at Taylor than it would be at PRE. PRE traffic flow, they tend to pull all the way down. And even though you do have a person at Taylor that's standing on the car and trying to usher them down, they still stop at the door. So I don't know what to do. I do know, shout out to Dustin, he's in the back. Hey, when I was doing pickups and drop-offs there at White Oak, they had a whole big orchestra of people, ushering people, through.
And it helps to have very vocal people when you're out there too. So it's finding that right combination of people who, like you said at Taylor, because we watched that trying to get them down there to that end. That is difficult.
So yeah, White Oak I think was so far that I've seen of the school drop-offs, that was the best one, with Dustin out there. ushering everything out.
So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the change orders as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any other questions? Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is also a business item and is a resolution to advertise and accept bids for construction contract for parking lot improvements at Northwest High School. This is a requirement by ORC. We must advertise and accept bids. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution expressing an intent to advertise and take bids for construction contract for parking lot improvements at Northwest High School and authorizing the superintendent treasurer pursuant to applicable laws to proceed with the commencement of such processes as needed to solicit construction bids. This is different from the GMP we just talked about because this was money we're moving from building the new construction of the school. So this is changing and helping with another problem at Northwest High School. And Susan is here, so Susan, correct me if I misspeak, or Chris, that we have, as you face Northwest High School from the side road, they try to sneak out the back. So this would put some barriers in there and some parking lot things, so.
Basically, we're changing the traffic pattern Northwest. We're going to get a gate in between the front and the side lot. So we'll allow cars to enter from the north in through what is now the exit and go around through the parking lot and drop along the front sidewalk. And then the cars coming from the north will go down Stout, come in the typical entrance, and there will be a drop-off place along the side. So it'll sort of around Stephen Knox, make a longer area for viewing, and they'll drop along the side of the building. And they'll be permitted to go on the side of the building.
That's so smart.
That way we can separate the majority of the traffic comes from the north. So we can separate that traffic right across each other. So you don't need that exit by itself over on the.
Do you have like a sketch out of your new plan or revised plan?
It was attached.
Is it?
Drawing.
Do you want us to
The
pull it
revised
back up? The one she just put up or attached?
It was attached to it.
Which one is it? The progressive? Which one is it called?
Do you have the attachments, Chris? I don't know if you do or not.
I looked at it, I didn't understand that there was a new flow, as you just mentioned. I haven't seen it on here. realize there's a different flow that you're proposing in this. When I read through this, I didn't realize there's a different flow that you were proposing for this. It's just a sketch.
So typically, this was the exit coming down by the tennis courts.
Yeah.
So now the traffic coming from here can go in, it'll circle this parking lot and come back and drop. Those folks will then proceed out this way. Or they can have the option to go back around. Likewise, they'll come down Stout, enter through here, they'll be directed around the student lot, and then they'll drop off along here where they'll be able to enter into the side of the building. They'll go back out, and then they can go left, right, down Stout.
So Chris, will the buses need to reuse Stout Road? Because they go back to the,
No, they'll come in off of Pippin. They could use Stout if you wanted, you could go either
but
way.
they drop at the Career Center.
Right, so you could go either way because we're gonna allow this left here because we may have people that wanna drop at the Career Center as well. So they'll be able to make this left here, circle around, drop, and back out.
How would you limit a delay if you're entering on Stout and circling around the student lot and trying to come back out Stout to make a left-hand turn?
Say that again?
If you're entering, if you're exiting Stout and making a left-hand turn, how do we?
Here, and you're gonna, there's not many people that turn that way because you have to go out and then through the neighborhood. to get
But say,
there.
as you have the formation of cars still trying to enter the parking lot, it's gonna back up everyone behind them, even if you have one person trying to make a left.
Right, so most people probably wouldn't do it. I mean, we can only make it so good, right? We have to deal with the two conditions that we have. So more than likely, not many people are gonna try to make that left. That's why we're separating this. So if you're going back north, you're gonna come out of here, make a right, and you're going back up Pippin. If you're wanting to go south, you're probably gonna circle around and come back out. And then make
No,
a right on.
the people who came in on Stout and made a right-hand turn into the parking lot, they now need to make a left to get out. They're gonna hold up everyone behind them that made the left turn into Northwest.
Is there an officer there?
There will still be an officer at the end of Stout. And then
Down
right
there,
down
but
here at
not-
the exit.
Not here.
Hopefully, eventually, if things go well, we'll be able to eliminate this position. But we won't do that until we make sure that
People will get on,
that
yeah.
it's well. And also, these two can work together. So if they do see that we're getting a lot of traffic coming down Stout, then he can allow them to come on down to Pippin and turn in here and kind of separate the traffic.
It's the exit on his own. The left-hand turn out of there. You gotta say, even if it's a one car, you're gonna be sitting there because you have 50 cars coming in, and you have to wait for them to go by.
Any other questions?
I already made a recommendation, sorry.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved in second. Any other questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is a business item, vendor contracts. Superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed.
So moved.
Second?
Moved in second. Questions on vendor contracts? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is certificated licensed personnel items. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is classified personnel items. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any questions regarding classified personnel items? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is curriculum and instruction, 2019-2020 curriculum and instruction handbooks presented as information earlier for action now. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2019-2020 handbooks as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any questions on the curriculum and instruction handbooks?
Same with this one, are the major changes, I think, that are from the 1920 year versus the 1819 year?
No, there are not. The only thing that's changed is in the grading and reporting handbook, we've clarified some dates related to declared courses and when those have to be requested, as well as some information related to students dropping courses and what the timeline is for that. So we've just put in some more clear language around those two things.
Anybody else? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is also curriculum and instruction, 2019-2020 anchor text for the new 11th and 12th grade English literature courses. The following anchor texts are being recommended by approval for the curriculum department based on recommendations from CHS, NWS teachers, and administrators for the 2019-20 semester English language arts literature courses. A complete list of recommended anchor text for the 6 new literature courses is attached. Text not highlighted have previously been approved by the Board of Education. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the anchor text as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is curriculum and instruction also, 2019-2020 district technology fee. In order to protect our investment in technological devices for students, the district would like to propose adding a new technology fee of $10 for students in grades K through 5 and $15 for students in grades 6 through 12, starting in the 2019-2020 school year. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the district technology fee as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions?
So how does that work? Is that you take the amount that you would collect, or is that like is that like the money I spend on my Verizon phone if I break it? It's a insurance policy, or is it more to replace?
Basically, it works like an insurance policy.
Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is student services. It is the 2019-2020 student service handbooks for action. They were already presented as information at the May 23rd board meeting. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2019-20 student service handbooks as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Are there any questions on student service handbooks? Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is from Student Services also, 2019-2020 Student Support Guidelines and Code of Conduct. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2019-2020 Student Support Guidelines and Code of Conduct as listed.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is certificated and licensed personnel items. It is the 2019-2020 administrative and certified job descriptions and handbooks for information. They will come back at the next board meeting for approval. Any questions about those? If you have any questions, let Daryl know. They're all attached so you can read through them. Next item is classified personnel, 2019-2020 classified job descriptions and handbooks, introduced as information for this. They're all attached, and we'll come back at action at the next meeting. Next item is student services. It is 2019-2020 building handbooks. They are presented as information, so you have time to look through them prior to the next board meeting. If you have any questions, let us know, and they will come back as action at the next board meeting. Next item is a miscellaneous item. It is Neola Board Policy Revisions. There are 12 revised policies due to change in compliance officer, 1 revised transportation policy, and 1 revised career advising policy. They are for information only. They are all attached so you can read through them. If you have any questions, please let us know. Next item is the graduation discussion as requested by the board. The board will discuss the, graduation decor.
Okay. Does anybody have, is there a presentation or we're just?
There's not a presentation. Our request was to discuss decorum, and so Jack and Susan are here to answer any questions that you might have about graduation in terms of if diplomas were held, in terms of how many issues there was during graduation, or things you liked or did not like. Graduation has always been in charge of the 2 high school principals at each high school.
I think we'll just go down the line. If you have any comments about graduation.
I just want to reemphasize that I think Susan and Jack did a heck of a job at graduation, with the exception of a few incidents. I think it went well. So you guys are to be congratulated on what you did.
Okay, Diane?
Yeah, I think that this discussion will probably be better or held more in detail when we get to the school year. Similar to how we started this school year out with the open discussion with the parents and the students, that I think they allow the community that most of them were off in the summer to actually have some engagement in this.
Okay.
Can be better served later.
Okay.
So you'd like to see some type of meeting like that set up at the beginning like we did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's fine. I know you would just ask, and I wanted to make sure it got on the agenda. So, Mark, any question?
For me, I thought the students were very clear about what their expectation was. I mean, even before the graduation, there were videos, and at Northwest, the students got up and spoke that this is what we want for our graduation, and it didn't seem to go as well as maybe it should have. I'm interested to hear what Jack and Susan have experienced after the graduation, because I'm sure there were things that happened the next day or the day after, comments that they've got. I'd be interested to hear what the community has said to them about the graduation experience.
Jack, Susan?
I did receive several. First of all, the overwhelming response was that people were very happy with the graduation. As I reiterated several times, both Susan and I put hours of preparation into that. I think the social media blitz, if you will, with our students doing the public service announcements were very well received. We got a lot of comments back
okay, we definitely need to talk about this. So, my understanding, I'm trying to find the email at this point, that I personally was going to do the community service. So how many students did you have perform community service for Colerain High School?
We had 45 names on our list. I believe there were 6 or 7 that filed an appeal. Some have not yet shown up. Approximately, Ms. Bradley, I would say we had about 30 community service, between 25 and 30. I don't have this in front of me.
Do you have the list of the demographics of the students that you withheld?
Do I have a list of demographics?
Yes.
On me right now.
When will you have that
I
available?
can tell you it was a mixture of demographics.
I just want to know the demographics that you have, those 45 students that you withheld diplomas for.
We'll have to check and see if we're allowed to release that.
I
But we'll be glad to.
specifically
Right.
requested myself.
Right, and our attorneys disagreed with it.
You stated an email that
I sent you an email that said all
no
students-
diplomas will be withheld.
No diplomas
I'm
were
bringing this up and
withheld
I-
on that day. All diplomas were given out on that day.
So they didn't have to perform community service, or they performed community service? You had 45 names of individuals you have performed community service and you withheld their
I did
diplomas?
not say that. I said we had 45 names that were indicated on 6 of the 8 rosters. I believe 6 of those filed an appeal. I believe about 30 of those, 25 to 30, again, I don't have the number in front of me, performed community service and received their diploma that day, the same day as everybody else.
And how many hours of community service did they do on the average?
We kind of had jobs, and so we had said, the policy had said 6, but, to stand there, unless you're gonna make kids clock in and out, we had specific jobs assigned, so that when they finished that particular job, some of it was simply taking the caps and gowns that they're given to students that are rented, if you will. Many of those were boxing those up so that we could return those to regular services. Some was helping us with locker cleanouts, obviously, at the end of the year. So when those students finished that particular job, they were assigned, they received their diploma. Again, everybody received their diploma that day after graduation, which for us was on Wednesday.
Absolutely appalling and disgraceful from both of you. I don't want to hear nothing. I will find the email that I posted for the community all to hear. I personally was taking charge of the community service for every single student that you were attempting to withhold. And I requested prior to any community service for the list of demographics to be released prior to you withholding any single diploma from any single student. It is in writing that will be shared with community, and we will take this excerpt out as well. What you did was appalling and disgraceful.
In what way?
Excuse me, you're saying that it's appalling and disgraceful in terms of my integrity, in terms of we did what the policy said, what the community asked us to do. In our case, the policy was written, it was given to the community in several forms, as well as public service announcements. So if it's appalling that I said exactly what I was going to do and that my integrity, then that's your opinion.
And I did as well, and I put it in writing and memorialized that as well. Susan, how many?
No,
how
Diane,
many did you
as a
withhold,
board
Susan?
member, we're a board together. There is not one of us that can individually dictate to anybody what they should or shouldn't do.
I didn't dictate. I said I
Well,
would
it sounds-
volunteer for the community. I would represent all 45 of those students myself.
And they both chose not to allow you to do that.
How can you choose not to allow me? I'm a community member. The policy didn't say that
The
only
policy
the students.
wasn't for you, it was for the students.
It does not say that in the policy, that only the students must complete the
And I
community
found the email I
service.
sent to you, it said, I just talked to Jack Fisher, all diplomas for students who showed up were given out. They will also be given out tomorrow, and that's all that email said.
And what does it say? What does my statement say prior to that?
I have not found that, this was a sent email to you. It is Jack and Susan's decision with graduation and what they do.
This will, okay, I'm not even gonna make a threat.
Is that a threat?
There's no threat.
I just want to make sure my administrators are not being threatened.
No
that's all.
threat, not whatsoever. Appalling.
Jim?
Disgraceful.
I just want to thank Jack and Susan. They did a great job. The kids did a great job in their public service comments. I don't know, when we're inside stadium, you know, when people are screaming and hollering, you can't hear the next kid's name. Maybe we should just do it, have the graduation on the football field at each individual school. What, you know, it's pretty wide open, it's not enclosed, you got time enough to hear your kids' names, maybe we should do that, and maybe that would alleviate a lot of the tension or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I graduated from Northwest in 1978, we graduated from Colrain's football field. It went perfect. The only thing was we had a tornado warning that day, but we still graduated then, and there was a rain date included, so maybe that's the answer. So you're not in an enclosed arena, when people are screaming and hollering, you can't hear the kids the next day. Maybe that's something we do, for discussion. I mean, I think it should be up to Jack and Susan. I mean, as long as we've been a school district, it's up to the principals to run their graduations. As you can see, if you go to each one of them, they're different, which is fine. That's no problem. They're in charge of it. It's not a school board issue. It's a building issue, and I think the principals should be in charge of that. It's just my take on it,
Susan, how many did you withhold? How many did you, yes, how many? Thank you.
Anyway, that's kind of my take on it.
Okay, thank you. I just want to echo, Jack and Susan, I think your kids did a great job with they made it very clear the type of graduation ceremony each school wanted to do, and that came right out of the kids' mouths. I don't think this is a board, I don't think it is our place as a board to tell you how to do anything with graduation. If you want to have two totally different graduations, that's okay. That's what makes you unique. This was put on the agenda because it was requested to be, and that's why it's on here. So I don't want you to feel like you're being told you have to or should have done something. I think under the circumstances, you handled everything the best way that could. And it does not take away from how many hundreds of thousands of dollars our two senior classes earned in scholarships, how many kids stood up that are now going to protect us and serve our country, and every other student and what they're doing in their future, that both of you did such a good job making sure all kids were recognized. So with that, we will move on.
Can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
This graduation was not for the parents, it was for the kids. And that's the most important thing here. If the parents act up and the kid behind the other kid can't hear his name, we're cheating some people here. We got to take that in consideration. Once again, I think you guys did a great job.
I said, this is a graduation ceremony is not just for the students. It is not. No student that walked across that stage got across that stage by themselves. This is a family and a group ceremony. The students got there on the backs of other individuals, their parents, their community members, other individuals as well. This is not just a student decision. This is a group decision. Unfortunately, it's been made by a small group of individuals to represent a community that they don't represent. That is my issue.
I believe there was a committee that,
Say something. I do represent this community. I live here, I've lived here most of my life. And I understand what you're saying. It weighs on me heavily, what we do. But I will tell you, both parents that brought their kids up that day to pick up their diploma, even some that did community service, were very supportive of what we were doing, of all races, I might add, as well as even as I received
community, the email that I sent out is for public record. It says, as was offered with Northwest High School, I, Diane Bradley, commit to completing all of the community service hour requirements for any and all Colerain High School students that will have their diplomas held due to excessive celebration at the graduation ceremony that occurred May 21st, 2019. Please submit to the Northwest Local School District Board of Education the quantity and demographics of these students prior to their diplomas being withheld.
And
That
again-
was the email that was sent out.
And again, Diane, you were acting as one individual person,
Yeah,
and.
is that any
you-
less?
When, you can't dictate to an employee any more than me or anybody else.
I didn't dictate, I made a
No,
question.
no, read it again,
I-
and
I
read
made-
in your tone. You are telling Jack and you are telling Susan, you showed up at Northwest High School demanding the list of names. We don't do that.
I didn't ask for a list of names, so you're incorrect in that, you weren't there.
Okay.
What was written down in black and white that I sent, I didn't request to
And-
Jack,
and
I
that's-
requested to Todd.
And that's great that you, if that's how you felt that you wanted to do, but clearly, other people didn't want to take you up on that.
Yeah, you disregarded myself as a community member and as a board member making a request to the
So any
superintendent
board
here.
member, if they show up at school and say, I don't think Johnny should have got in trouble for doing X, Y, Z, I'm gonna do it for him, they should be allowed to do that?
I'm a community member fulfilling the community service.
Okay, but
Period,
no,
end
I'm
of story.
asking you that.
Absolutely.
So you think anybody, any of us can walk in a building and we disagree with how, I don't know, Johnny got in trouble, and I apologize, I'm just pulling Johnny out of the, Johnny got in trouble for doing something on the bus. So we just watched all this stuff and how all these different things are going on the bus, and it would be okay for you to go to the principal and say, no, I'm gonna,
I didn't ask for a single name and
no,
I
you're
didn't-
gonna do their, you don't want them to
Absolutely.
get in trouble.
Zero question.
So you don't think people,
100%.
so you don't, in other words, you don't think there should be consequences for actions, ever?
I do. The consequences for the actions are, unfortunately, the people who are sitting next to me and in front of me, not those students. They did not deserve any consequences for their actions. The administration deserved a consequence for their actions.
Well, if
I
you're
said
not gonna
I-
ask
as-
for their names, then why are you gonna ask for their demographics involved?
There's a reason. Why did you share it?
Well, tell me. Tell me
I
what the,
wanted to- I
why
wanted to
would
know
you ask the
why-
demographics?
I wanted to know that information.
For what reason?
It doesn't matter what reason. That's the information I want to know, and that's the information that, according to
Well,
when I spoke to Todd, that we can ask. We
Educate
can
me
ask for
then,
that.
why would you ask that?
This is beyond at this point.
No, it's not. Please explain yourself, Diane.
I wanted to know who was being withheld with whatever information I could receive, and the only information that I was aware that I could receive relating to the students was their demographics, not their name.
Okay, we'll move on. Superintendent's update?
My only update is a reminder that the next board meeting is for personnel items. Teachers from all school districts have till July 10th to resign their position. So on July 11th, we will make approvals after resignations are done for other districts for new hires, and also find out who will be resigning here. So it is July 11th at 7:30 a.m. It will be a very short meeting. I just wanted to remind everyone.
Okay. Okay. Okay, thanks, Todd. Okay, at this time, we have community comments. If there's anything that you want to ask or comment on that was discussed during the meeting, you can just raise your hand and ask from there. Yes.
I wanted to ask on the change order on Manning Road, what work was completed? What work was completed, and what work was to be completed that's not going to this time? So I think what I'm asking is, so there was a turn signal installed and crosswalk lights at Manning and Memory. Was that a part of Hamilton County, was that school district, Union Township?
Chris?
It's all one project. It was headed by Boeing Township and School District, had a manpower.
So that's the part of that project?
That's part of
and that was
the
completed?
overall project.
Okay. So what part of the project is not going to be completed?
Just the turn lane on
Anybody else?
Is that the turn lane when you're on Banning going left to Colerain or to right? A right-hand
Right.
turn
Yeah,
by
right.
the gas station right there?
They were gonna take part of the gas station property and
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Currently,
And Mr. T-Sort, the one thing that you will see that will be put up are the lights were pre-ordered. So they will have the matching intersection hanging poles and lights like they do at Galbraith and Coleraine. Those will be installed at that area per zoning requirements.
We wouldn't do any of that. We own the cross arms and the signal, but that'll be a discussion that we'll have.
Right. So I want to make sure you're aware of that also.
Anyone else?
Really quick question. One, I thought that was a really good job with the bus safety. I think that was really good thing for the community to see here. I just have one question. I put my daughter last year, it was her first year riding the bus, and we were used to all. I just have a question. Do you guys think that it would be beneficial to, like, when you send the bus passes, maybe, I don't know, do a brief list of bases of that might be helpful for the parents, you know what I mean? So the parents can better educate kids.
We have a pamphlet that we developed, it's like a trifold thing. It has the bus safety stuff on it, the bus rules, it has the 33 or 8308 on it, which are the bus rules.
Is it like, you know how some of those are, they don't always read, they're not gonna necessarily reach out, you know what I'm saying? So like, I wonder if, because when they get their bus passes, they're probably more likely to read it at that point, I don't know, just a thought.
There are some things on the back of the bus pass about when to ride the bus stop and that kind of stuff. And we're hoping to get some of those details.
And maybe we can work with Lynn.
What about putting that presentation like on the district website and have on
Putting
the
the
bus
link?
pass, hey,
Bus pass,
pull
go
up
to
the
this.
district
Yeah.
website and you can
Click.
get, something like that maybe?
Yeah, that would be really impactful.
And
I
we get,
almost-
I'm also going to get with Lindsay, and since she's our PR person, and see what her ideas on how getting this best out, maybe shared on social media or some other areas. So, well, that's great ideas, and we can definitely look at all that.
And then I want clarification, guys, I missed it, I was trying to write. So the technology fee was my first name, Driver. I just want to make sure I have it right. Did I hear it right? K through 5, it was $10, and then when the sixth grade up, it was 16. Is that correct? And then like when parents pay for it, just so they understand, is this gonna be like, are you gonna treat it like an increase for the student fees after add $650 on the regular school fees? Or are they gonna be two separate fees? Just so they understand.
It should be part of their student fees, and we'll have to make sure we get that out so they understand. If you'll look when the agenda was, there's an attachment that shows you what all the breaks and pairs, because we didn't want people to just think we're making things up. So that's, we'll have to make sure we do a good job communicating that out also, or they will be confused.
Yeah. And then my last question is, like, for, when you guys talk about the bids for the work at, the construction at, Northwest, do you guys like have a scope, and where do you advertise, where to go, but, with that?
So it'll be in the local paper and it'll also be on the website.
And you guys have a scope on it?
Yes.
And that's required by law. We put them in those two places.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else? Yes.
As a community member, my daughter had to serve community service for the pre-graduation because she didn't follow a policy, and I just want to support the fact that Mr. Fisher, that he decided that was the best way for it to be handled because she did not follow the rules. I did not argue it, I supported it 100%, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, at this time, we have board member comments. Joe?
Raj, I'm glad you're here. Because if campaign promises were kept, we would have alleviated a lot of the fiscal or the deficit that we're in right now, if the campaign promises were kept. And every time I see you, I remind you of what you said, that you're going to work hand in hand with the school district, and it's not happened. Huh?
I always support the school district.
Well, there's, let me throw this at you, 3.5 million that we did not get. What happened to that?
Something we need to talk about.
Do what?
Something we need to talk about with legal.
Well, that's my comment.
I want to thank transportation. Last year, at the beginning of the year, was ugly with transportation, and it looks like all the issues that came up, you guys, I believe that was in place, but I think you've put a much brighter light on it. I feel much more comfortable going into this year. Certainly lessons learned when reorganizing, doubling volumes of kids. My daughter graduates in a couple years. If the Gilbert family acts out, I don't want a board member taking, well, whatever. I want my student to take the responsibility for what happens. I think fundamentally that's what's wrong with a lot of the planet right now.
Jim?
I would just want to concur what Mark just said with transportation. I've been on the board 12 years, and I never even knew that there was a safe place or where the kids would have to stand.
I wasn't going to admit that.
No, I'm going to admit, I mean, because this is the first time in 12 years we've had a presentation like that. I mean, I learned a heck of a lot. I mean, and if the parents could see and hear this presentation, like I said to Monica, you know, get that website, get it on the bus pass, pull this up, show your student, look at this, you know, and I think that would go a long way. Because that was pretty, I just couldn't believe those videos that you pulled off of there, Bob. It's just ridiculous how people drive around school buses. It's, I mean, those three girls, they were lucky they were not killed when that semi came to the right of that bus. And I think if our parents see that thinking, oh my gosh, this is what's going on out there, you know, they might, you know, be a little more attentive.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my son Robbie, who's a Coleraine High School graduate,
Yeah.
for putting that together.
Yeah.
He is a graphic designer.
You tell him he did a good job doing that.
He did.
Yeah.
You can't, those clips are long. I can send you those clips, but we were able to condense them down to a 3-minute
Right.
window. So
I do. I think that's something that the community needs to see.
yeah, and like that little girl, we had the red circle. He did all that.
Yeah.
All the graphics
Yeah,
on that.
it was
It
pretty
fun to
powerful.
watch him make it.
And I think if there's a situation where we find habitual kids who have issues with this, it could be mandated that they watch that because it's clearly lack of education and understanding.
You know, when you were talking about a camera on the arm that comes down, what does something like that cost?
I think they're in the range of around $1,000 to $1,500, but per bus.
Per bus.
So, but the thing of it is that if you're teamed with your townships and your cities and whoever that administrates,
Right.
or your county or whoever that would be, they typically join in because they are able to get the proceeds from the tickets that
Sure.
citations that are written off of those fines.
Because they can
off
make
of-
those fines whatever they want, up to
Return, yeah.
a certain amount.
Return
Well,
on
they're
investment.
that's what's coming.
Yeah.
That's what, we were in that meeting the other day, the $300 ticket now is
Yeah.
going up.
I think anybody that goes on the left side of the bus, they should lose their license. I mean, that,
right
I mean, the
side.
right side.
The
I
right
mean,
Yeah, that should be the same, that should hold the same citation that a DUI.
absolutely,
Stop.
absolutely. I agree with the, tell your son, amazing. I mean, that was so impactful. And I do think too, I agree with Monica, sometimes you read stuff on the back, it's kind of like your insurance card, nobody really reads it. They still call you and want to find out, now who am I supposed to call, and it's written right there. But the way all of us are with our phones and stuff, if they could see something they could click on and watch that, and it is only, you know, you got to keep it shorter, but all you'd have to only see is 1 or 2 of those clips and just be like, I'd be sitting my kids down and showing them too. I mean, and so they understand, this is why the bus driver is telling you you've got to do this, or this is why we're telling you this, and to make the parents realize how important it is, and that this isn't an exception, this is like how people are.
Right. The unfortunate part of this whole thing is, when does anything become important? After something
After
happens.
somebody's,
So that's why we're trying to stay in front of it.
right. And I, you know, Raj, and talk about partnering and stuff. I mean, Bob, I mean, that's a great example. I mean, even if there's some grant out there that we could find and put those cameras on all the arms, if there's not gonna be the laws to, there's not going to be any consequences that we catch these people, then, I mean, maybe we've gotta figure out how do we work together? Is it with the township, is it with the county, whoever, and we get community, committees together, and is it writing letters, is it pounding on doors, is it sitting there waiting to talk to your congressman, sending them this video every time and showing what other states do so that we can do something like that, and then, you know, maybe we can get people to partner up to come up with the money for the cameras, but it sounds like we've gotta get that law changed.
Well, you have to get the law changed.
Right.
First. And that's why every time I see them, I'm in their ear.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating, cause like I said, you know, my son-in-law got a ticket when he wasn't even living up here yet, you know, cause the camera, and you don't even know how often they even, whatever you call it, make sure they're calibrated right or whatever, and he had to pay the ticket. Well, how can they do that, and then they can't go after somebody that they can see right there, went around a bus? It's just crazy. But, anyhow, great presentation. Just,
So you owe me an apology. You individually pointed out to me and said, I'm the causation of this deficit. This previous board, when all this, TIF money is the Rumpkin.
You want me to give you an apology?
you
You
got,
singled out to me. I'm here to listen to the school board, try to help work with them. You singled out, you say, I'll probably, I failed with, my Canton promise, which cost them, what, how many, the $1 million? That was so wrong, what you said, Joe. You owe me an apology.
Oh, I'm not gonna apologize for that.
It was a complete meeting. You had no.
I heard what you and Unger said.
Board meeting, you got
Hey,
no
guys.
right to call me out.
You're here.
hey, guys, we're kind of, you're both out of order, okay? Okay? So with this, I'm gonna go ahead, and I
got it.
believe,
It's my review.
yes.
The next item is executive session. The board will approve a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed. No decisions will be made.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. You're welcome to stay. There won't be any decisions or anything. Once we come out, we will just take a motion to adjourn the meeting. So with that, we'll vote. Motion passes 5-0. We'll head on down to executive session right now.
I'm going to the bathroom. I gotta go to the bathroom, so.